And good morning, and welcome to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Bill Dixon and Coach Szynal here with you with Coach John Everingham, the coach of the Wawasee Warrior boys basketball program. Coach, thanks for being here this morning.
Yes, good to be back.
So, last week, done a lot of game activity, but I know your Warriors have been very busy in the gym.
We have. Some of us have. You know, we obviously just going back a couple weeks, we had a couple coaches, Coach O'Connell and I, who tested positive for COVID, and we were out all week. You know, so I think the official return date for Coach O'Connell was the Friday of the Northwood game, and unfortunately for me, I had to come back Monday. So we had a couple coaches out, and some others that had head colds, and so we battled some sickness with our coaches last week, and then this week it kind of switched over to our players. And so we had, starting Monday, of our 15 JV varsity players, we only had 8 practicing. So 8 total players at practice Monday through Wednesday. And then Wednesday evening we found out that 2 more were showing some symptoms of being sick. And
so you don't even have enough to make a team.
No, neither team. You know, our freshman team hasn't been hit all that much, although I heard of one kid yesterday. So they're playing today, minus maybe one player. But our JV and our varsity, we just didn't have enough players to compete. And so, you know, we're very thankful, you know, to Mishawaka that they kind of understand that, you know, not only is there sickness kind of going around in our school, you know, with school being, you know, virtual or whatever, I think 300 plus, you know, students were out of school. And so
out of 900, so roughly a third of the student body.
Yeah, and I think the magic number might even be 20%, you know, for whatever reason. Wow. I think the state rules. But anyway, you know, us going virtual, we obviously had a problem within the school. We went virtual Thursday and Friday, and you know, unfortunately, just our basketball program was not exempt from, you know, getting sick. So we have a lot of guys sick and recovering. But we're just very thankful for Mishawaka understanding that not only, you know, we couldn't field a team, number one. Number two, I think, you know, making sure we don't get them sick and they have to go what we're going through, you know, next week. So. Sure. So it's been quite a couple weeks of sickness kind of going around, and we're hoping we can get back healthy next week.
Well, and the last thing they want is to get sick a week from now, when now you're in the heart of the conference schedule and you're starting to think about maybe looking about tournament preparation and such. They don't want that either.
No, and it's going around everywhere. You know,
yeah,
that
just does.
Some other basketball coaches, and they're trying to piece things together just as much as we were. You know. Wednesday after practice, you know, we were ready to go. You know, we were going to be down some guys and on the varsity and the JV, but we were ready to play on Friday against Mishawaka. And then, you know, a couple more hit, and we just couldn't field a team, you know, safely.
How are the kids handling this? I mean, you know, this is something that's never happened before ever. I mean, I'm almost 100 years old, and I've never had. I mean, you had the flu, but nothing catastrophic.
Yeah, the last thing that even comes close to comparing would be the Spanish flu back in
back in the day.
So.
Yeah, I think you know, it's almost becoming kind of normal. You know, I mean, it's a new normal that we're dealing with this again this year, and so this is 3 straight seasons, basketball seasons, that COVID has crept into our season. You know, with the first one, the very first one was, you know, sectional, regional. They had to shut down the IHSA tournament, and then obviously last year, you know, we played Prairie Heights and maybe one other team that weren't even on our schedule. We had to kind of drop some opponents right in the middle of the season and pick up some other ones, and so, you know, I'm not an expert certainly, but it just seems like after breaks, you know, when you go spend time with family you're around other people in large gatherings, it just seems like when we come back to school, it seems to kind of hit.
Well, it makes sense. Statistically, the more people you're around, the more likely you are to have encountered it.
Yeah, and I think, again, I'm not an expert, but we're talking about sickness in general. You know, you're talking about colds and flus and COVID kind of all grouped together. And so we definitely have COVID kind of circulating within our program right now. We have the cold and probably the flu also,
yeah, flu's coming up too.
Kind of circulating. So I think the good news for us is that we'll get all 14 back on Monday and really have a good solid week of practice so we can finish out the season strong.
By the year 2025, we should be an extremely robust species, having experienced all of this.
Or the virus will mutate, and that may be the end of us. One of those two things. You're right, Bill. One of those two things is going to happen.
But to answer your question, we're handling it well. I will tell you, too, some cool stories that kind of came up.
I want to hear
Please
these.
do.
And really on Monday, last week, actually, Coach O'Connell and I were sitting at home, quarantined and sick. And we quickly kind of set up some cameras in the gymnasium, and I had one of the managers with FaceTime, going on. So I had another coach with a cell phone so he could hear me, and so we were very involved in practice. Coach O'Connell and I are sitting at home, and we got cameras pulled up on our virtual Google Classroom, and so we still were very involved in the game planning and how practice was going. And on several occasions, the press breaker for Northwood wasn't quite operating like I had envisioned in my head, and so they were able to take a 5 to 10 second timeout. Got a chance to talk to Coach Hoffert, and we started executing just a little bit better, on that. So, technology is amazing, and even this week. With a couple of our varsity guys out, we had those guys on FaceTime. We had the cameras set up, so they were actively involved in watching practice and going over the game plan for Mishawaka. And so I could hear, some two of the varsity players in my ear. So they were asking questions, while they were watching practice, and then I was able to talk to them as well, to say, hey, this is where you normally would be in this particular set, and. So it was very interesting. We made the most of the situation that was kind of presented to us, and technology certainly helped us in this week and last. So.
Man, technology is amazing. I mean, to be able to do that and still keep the kids involved is huge.
Yeah, engaged, because last year we didn't know what to do. So we were doing these. We started out trying to do these online. Virtual practices, like they were doing sit-ups and push-ups and running in play. And the kids were not digging that at all. But we played them some game film and had them do ball handling drills, and it just kind of died off. But this year it's almost like we kind of got the idea maybe a little bit better in terms of keeping kids engaged in, what we're doing, And so I feel like they've handled it really well, and we're in a very good spot right now, and kind of ready to get back to full force maybe next week.
No, that'll be great. It's always nice. Basketball, of course, we got like Bill said earlier, we've got the NLC, all these games scheduled, and then sectional time's coming up. So that's huge in Indiana, especially here. I look forward to that since I've been 5-6 years old. One of the Hoosiers thing.
Yeah, and it's not that far away, too. You look at, we're in the middle of January already,
yes.
and March 1st is going to be here before we know it. And so that's literally just 6 short weeks. And we'll play Plymouth on Friday night, and then we'll play 4 games in 8 days.
Wow.
And so we'll go Friday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. So the pace will pick up considerably in terms of games played, and then we'll have to make up that Mishawaka game. Too. We're
February 5, I
February
understand.
5th. Yeah.
1 o'clock to JV, and then varsity immediately following.
Yeah, the odd thing about that one is we have always played Mishawaka before they joined our conference. We've always played them the Saturday afternoon of the girls' sectional final. And so now we're back on that date, but a different year. So, we look forward to playing them.
That ought to be a good game.
So the coaching staff is now healthy, and we're waiting for some of the kids to come back. Talk about where you think your team is at right now, development-wise. The last time we saw them was the front end of the conference schedule against Northwood. Where do you think you're at?
Yeah, I like where we're at. I think if you had asked me a week ago, I would have said the same thing. It really was difficult for me to be away, and watch that Northwood game at home. But it was the right thing to do. And what I told the kids, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. And I probably could have pushed things, a little bit and and coached in that game. But the depth of our coaching staff is really pretty amazing with Coach Hoffert and Coach O'Connell. Coach O'Connell coached the game when I couldn't, and then Coach Hoffert coached the game when Coach O'Connell and I were out. And so it's really a credit to our coaching staff, but I think even more so our kids, is that when I step away or Coach O'Connell steps away, that practices are the same and our intensity, the way we work is the same. I think that is a really good sign, for our team that we're in a really good spot.
It's just another example of your systemic approach to this game. When the Junior Warriors is where we saw it to begin with, when there was one system that reached the whole way from the kid who's a senior down to the kid who's a third grader. Now that this is another example. Systemic approach works. Consistency makes it happen.
Yeah, there's no question. That's a really good word because it's true. And you also think about, on the drive here, I was thinking about just the overall culture of who we are within our program. The other thing that I'm telling you, this is really impressive, and maybe the highest GPA. Our team this year's GPA is right now with grade checks last week is a 3.6 GPA, which is that's incredible.
Wow,
that's like an average of an A minus.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's an average of an A, not even an A minus. But so we got a lot of kids that are really getting it done in the classroom. The coaches step away and the practices are still very intense. They're kind of policing themselves in terms of intensity. And then we go play, quite honestly, our best half of basketball against Northwood with two of our coaches that haven't been there all week, And so I do think that word that you use, that systematic approach, to the way we do things, it's just the way we do things. And so if we have a player that's injured, which we do right now, if we have players that are sick or some other players that might be dealing with whatever things that are going on, that we sustain the same consistent work ethic. And it's just the way we do things. And I think that is kind of something that comes from what we've created within our program, from the Junior Warriors to the middle school and then up through the high school. So really kudos to the kids and how they stuck in there over the last 2 weeks.
Kudos is right. Bill and I have talked about this a lot, and even with the kids, they really get along well. And I never see them during the games not concentrating on what's happening. And then something happens, they'll go around, and if something bad happens, they'll go around and hug everybody. And the attitude is phenomenal, and the ability of teamwork of this group. I mean, very, very unselfish.
And then when you put that high GPA in there and their intelligence, what you get is a group that not only knows what's expected from a broad stroke, because you can teach that pretty quick. It's what's expected for each individual wrinkle. It's what's anticipated. What do we do when this happens? What do we do when that happens? So it's not just I do this and this is what's going to happen. It's if that happens, I can respond with this. And they're like playing chess. They can go 2 or 3 moves deep with that the longer you do it. And it's almost like having mini coaches on the floor at a certain point, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really right. And I think team GPA is very indicative of the way we're playing right now, because we just can't put people right now. We just can't put people in isolated positions on the floor and count on their athleticism and individual. We have to execute as a group of 5 people, and if somebody misses a back screen, it just kind of messes up the whole flow of the offense. And so I think, as you can see in our recent games, that we're competing at a very high level because we're playing together. We're executing very, very well on the offense and defensive end.
And what tells me even more is if that back screen gets missed, they don't fall apart.
Right.
They don't screw it up. They know, okay, well, it got missed. We'll just go on to this. We'll run it again. We'll go through the rotation another time. It's not like, whoa, my, it all flew up. No. We just keep going. And you don't see that in very many teams.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And your bench is good.
they're
really,
part of that GPA. They're part of that same group.
Right. They come off the bench and they're able to fill in the spots.
Yep.
And I saw you and the assistants going around telling them, hey, do this, and you send them out, and
and
it happens.
I'll add this before we go to break here, but I'll add this too. You think about the scouting too. And so we have to have guys in practice that have a high enough basketball IQ to run Northwood's offense.
Yeah.
So the bench guys.
That's not just the bench. That goes all the way down to the JV.
And so I think it runs through all 14, 15 of our guys, in practice. Is a really good point.
When we come back, we're going to talk to a couple of the Wawasee starters, a couple of guys on the varsity squad, and then later on we'll get Coach Everingham back to talk about the upcoming contests for this team. This is Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Joined now by Keaton Dukes, senior starter here on the Wawasee Warrior basketball program. Keaton, thanks for coming and being with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Well, here's the $64 question, as people who are as old as Kaz and I are prone to say. Now I think it's like $64 million.
Yeah, right. Well, it used to be $64,000 question, but
as old as we are, it was like $6.40.
Yes, exactly.
But how's your head? Because Northwood used it like a volleyball on the floor.
It's doing better. Obviously, I got a concussion.
It was pretty obvious, all right.
I went to the ER at halftime of the Northwood game. Nothing was internally wrong or anything, no bleeding or anything in my brain. So that was good. And so this past week's just been taking it easy, recovery. And then this next week we'll work back into practice, and I should be good for Friday.
when I got my first concussion, it took about 72 hours before the ringing quit in my ears, and I really lost the fog.
Mm-hmm.
That's all over. It's all in the past.
I still
for you
have
now?
a headache, but other than that, I'm symptom free as far as everything. So just the light headache's all I have now.
I haven't seen the film, but I can remember when that happened, your head actually bounced off the floor.
It was like a
ball.
Yeah.
So you really took a spill there, and I thought,
scared
a
lot of people.
Yeah.
Especially
Bill and I.
But we're scared pretty easily.
Yeah,
we know Social Security's. Well, you've seen your Social Security.
Yeah, I've been.
He's terrified all the time.
The last several years.
So talk a little bit about this Wawasee team. You've seen a lot of varsity basketball teams now. Tell us what this team is about.
This team's about family. That's what it's been from the moment that we started this summer. Working in. It took a while for me and Caden and some of the upperclassmen to get used to playing with the young guys, because most of the guys that are playing, we have 7 guys, and I think we have 3 that played varsity last year. So it's been different to have to work in with those guys. So we took all summer and fall and got used to that and got our chemistry up and on and off the court. But that's what it is, just the general picture is just family. Yeah.
What has really struck me about this team, and I said it 2 years ago at the Angola game, your very first game 2 years ago. Well, it was last year, but it seems like 2 years ago now. I have never seen a group of young people come together as a single unit, either as quickly or as completely as you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What's the deal? Why? How does this happen? Because it's not just chance. I mean, it's not just a roll of the dice. It seems like it happens every single year.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What's the difference? Why does it work for you guys?
I think it starts with the coaching staff. Their belief in us and their belief in, me and Caden as captains and leaders to get everybody on the same page and start from top guy all the way to the last guy on the bench, and even the guys sitting behind the bench during the varsity game that play JV. Everybody, we're all on the same team. It's a team effort. Practice, games, it doesn't matter what number on your jersey, if you're starting, if you're not starting, if you're playing, you're not playing. We all have the same goal, and we all want to reach that goal at the end of the season.
Talk a little bit about your background. I mean, when did you start realizing that you really wanted to play varsity ball for Wawasee? how young were you when you really picked up that first one? And
elementary school, I think. Just playing in the LYC junior warrior type stuff, and then moving on through middle school, and obviously coming to games, watching guys that were at the high school level when I was there, and looking up to them was a big thing. That's what really started to make me take the game seriously.
And now too, we got a lot of kids that look, that go down and look, and they want your autograph, and you have that responsibility now to build the teams that are going to be around here in the future.
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's not something you can just skip over. I remember when I was their age and what I would have wanted somebody who was playing on the team, just say, "Hey, what's up, Keaton?" or anything, just small, anything. It doesn't matter what it is. So taking the time out and saying, all you got to say is, "Hey," or "Good job," because I saw you play the other day. Good job. Anything like that. It can inspire somebody at the middle school, elementary level, because they really do look up to you.
I know not in between the games, but after the games, a lot of times you guys will go back in, but then you'll come back out, and all that, all those other kids are just waiting around for you guys, especially the seniors.
Yeah.
So that is really a huge thing that I think you guys are really inspiring. That's going to pay dividends down the road for Wawasee.
What, believe it or not, somebody finally stopped me in the grocery store and said they were listening to us on Saturday morning, and it was a parent with elementary school kids. So there are likely some elementary school kids with us this morning. What would you tell those young people, that kid, second, third grade, starting to think about basketball? What should they be doing now to prepare them for a career like yours?
It starts with coming to the games, I think, before you do anything basketball related, practice wise. Just come to the games, watch us play, have fun. It's a good atmosphere. See what it's all about. And I believe that if you come to one of our games, you'll be hooked. Just watching us play, watching the energy we play with, the passion we play with, and that will inspire you and make you want to become a Wawasee Warrior.
I think that was a good statement.
Yeah.
You will hook them. They will be hooked, and I think that's hugely true. Keaton, what happens after this season? How much can you tell us? What are you going to do? Do you know yet?
By the way, Coach Kaz and I do live vicariously through everyone who leaves us, so just know that now.
I honestly don't know yet. I haven't made a decision as far as where I'm going to go or anything like that. I would like to play basketball at the next level. I'll probably decide that sometime after season's over, and I don't know yet.
It's interesting, too, because I talked to your dad, and he said almost exactly the same thing you did. He said, well, we don't know yet, but, you're being scouted. I know people have come around. Have any of the other coaches from around, you don't need to say their names, but have they contacted you and say, hey, we might be able to, give you some as a freshman at our school, or has anybody contacted you like that?
Yeah, that's definitely some, especially throughout the summer and fall, you do more of than in season. Right now I'm just focused on
you have to be focused on that
team
now
and everything, but throughout the summer and fall.
What do you want to study in school?
I would like to get into something. I'd like to stay sports related, and I'd like to do sports apparel or something in that field.
Cool. Well, I know there's a Wawasee that's kind of new right now with the fish thing that's going on.
Northern Gills with Beasley.
That's cool. So I've never heard of that. I mean, obviously I have, but prior to this year, that was not a venue that was really explored around here. So that's pretty cool.
I think it's really interesting too what you're thinking about doing. I just think that's huge, and all the different opportunities now, and where you choose to go is going to make a huge difference. And so it's going to be that decision, and then a lot of the kids that I've talked to, that I've, because I've been around here for a couple 100 million years, have changed their minds. They will go and maybe freshman year, well, I really don't know if I like this, so I'm going to go ahead and go someplace else or do something else. So those opportunities are always there, and it's just so neat that you're working hard enough to take advantage of them and then make that huge decision about what to do the rest of your life.
getting ready to head into the meat of the Northern Lakes Conference season and then into tournament. We're at that halfway point. What are your thoughts on where this team is at right now, preparing to the big push here toward the end?
We are in a great spot right now. I think we've set ourselves up nicely to have a very good and very exciting end of the season, end of the regular season, and into tournament play. I know we've lost a couple here late, with the exception of Garrett in the morning game of the holiday tournament. But the competition we've been playing is some of the best teams in the state. And
I thought you played some of your best basketball of the year as a team against Northwood.
Yes.
We lost that game, but boy, did we play well.
Yeah, I think the first half of Northwood was one of the best halves that we've played since I've been here. From a competitive standpoint, we were clicking on all cylinders that first half. But we've been playing really good lately. We've been hanging in there with some really good basketball teams. And I think you'll see that turn into wins and, hopefully sustain a winning streak to end the season and into the tournament.
It's one of the things that's interesting, too, to me and to Bill, is watching the coaches and their interactions with you in close situations. Like, hey, talk a little about the coaches and how they're influencing you during the games. What are they saying? Give me some insight into, O'Connell and some of the other guys, Everingham and
Hofford.
Yeah, Hoffert was big. Northwood, coming off the break there with Everingham gone, and we had some people out, and it doesn't change no matter who's coaching, who's head coach, who's leading practice. It doesn't change. We have the same mentality going in and out of practice, in and out of games. We have a game plan, and we're going to execute that game plan no matter who is coaching us. So that doesn't matter there. But no, all the coaches are great. We have some of the best coaches in the state, I think, and they're probably the number one reason why we have the game plan and have been able to stick with some of those teams so far, and why we're going to have a really good end of the season.
Talk a little bit about, first of all, it's a one game at a time approach still the whole way through, but you are coming into a stretch here where you're going to have 4 games in 8 days. That's got to be a little daunting.
Yeah.
Do you prepare ahead of time, like try and get assignments out of the way ahead of time and clear your schedule so you can do 4 games in 8 days? Do you alter the other things you do in order to clear time for that?
No, it'll still be a single game approach. Obviously, you might watch a couple of the ones later on, before the stretch starts, just to get a little familiar, so you're not picking up out of nowhere the day before the game. But no, you just take it one game at a time. Maybe say we'll see this. You play somebody the first game. Maybe say we'll see something similar to this later on down the road.
Something you can build on for later.
Yeah.
Do you guys watch any films of, like, we got Plymouth coming up?
Well, with the internet, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Watched
You
a lot.
guys do
a lot
that?
of film. Yeah.
You guys do that still. Back in the day when I had to ride to
film
practice
was
on my
really
dinosaurs. that didn't happen. You talk. Your coaches would send somebody. The coaches would send somebody to scout, and then then the coaches would tell you what to do and what this guy's going to do. But now, tell me about that. Talk a little bit. How does that work for you guys?
It's really easy with the internet. We have Huddle is what it's called. So you just log into Huddle and you can see every game the team's played this season against any opponent.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really easy.
Coach is now wishing he'd become a varsity head coach so that he could, experience all this technology.
Right. I cannot believe I could ever.
They don't put computers on stone tablets.
Yeah, that's exactly why I will never make it that far, if even back at the middle school level.
Keaton, thanks for coming in this morning.
You.
I appreciate it. Keaton Dukes, one of the starters on the Wawasee Warrior basketball program. We're going to talk to Caden Welty, one of the other starter seniors, here in just a moment. This is Wawasee Warrior basketball, Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. So we're talking to some of the players on the Wawasee Warrior basketball team. Caden Welty has come in to join us. Caden, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Of everybody on the Wawasee team, on the Wawasee basketball team, I'm really impressed with your development over the last year. Talk about what you see as your role with this team? What do you do to make this team succeed?
I think I help lead with Keaton and also try to just get everyone open and try to score.
So distribution.
Yes, sir.
But when the time comes and the need is there, you've been known to go to the hole once or twice yourself.
Oh, yeah, if I'm asked.
How do you make that decision? I mean, I was looking here at the Northwood game, and you were the only person in double figures. And then other games, you may be in, just very, very few. That's huge. The difference. I mean, if you were to graph that, it would be going up and down. It's not. It's just great that you're able to decide and help everybody out, and you're so unselfish. Talk about your unselfishness. Where'd that come from?
Well,
your parents.
If other people are, for me, if they're making their shots, then that's the biggest thing. But if they're not on their game that night, then I feel like I have to step up and try to do that role and just, I don't know.
So you look more
yeah.
when the team needs you to look more in a
Yep.
broad sense.
Yes, sir.
Because I know sometimes it seems to change from point guard to point guard. Some point guards are more situationally oriented. In other words, they're always looking the same amount, but if the hole opens wide enough, bam.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and that's their focus. Others are more focused on the broader aspect, and you seem to be more of a broader aspect kind of guy.
Oh, yeah.
How do you make that decision? I mean, like, how do you decide? It just seems like the little bit I've played back in the day when we rode the dinosaurs into the practice. And
When the peach basket really was a peach basket.
Yeah, exactly. And the guys had to get the ladder and take the ball out. How do you decide? Tell me a little bit about the mental part of that decision that you have to make on every single game.
Well, mentally, you just have to be prepared just to, what I said, if someone's not all there, then you have to step up. And as a senior, you kind of have to do that,
So it's more like, it's not so much a part of the game prep, it's more a part of how things are going.
Yes, sir.
If things are going well, then we stay with what we've been doing.
Exactly.
But if not, then you're gonna step up.
Yeah, you just got to adapt to your surroundings and just go with the flow.
Talk a little bit about your practice. I mean,
Yeah, that's
3-point
where I was
shots.
going.
Oh my gosh! When I drive by, my folks lived in Indy, and I would drive back and forth, and you never back in the day saw anybody shooting long shots. I mean, your idea was to get it inside the free throw line somewhere so you could shoot a shot. Now that's totally changed. Talk about that a little bit, and your 3-point shooting is, and everybody on that team. Well, maybe not Dukes, but everybody. I had to get that in here. Everybody has works on that 3-point shot.
So for me, 3-pointers are definitely really big. I mean, they're 3 points, So, I mean, I don't really.
What do you do as a practice?
Yeah,
because I know we've got some younger people listening this morning. If, let's say, during the summer or during the off season, whatever, you're doing your own practice, what does that look like? What do you do on a day-by-day basis to get yourself ready?
Well, first it'll start off doing like 2-foot shots. Then I'll develop kind of like what Larry Bird did. Mm-hmm. He would start in close
and then work his way
out.
Okay.
So then I'd start doing that, and I guess everyone does that on the team. To be fair, maybe not Miles. He doesn't really like to do that. He just goes out there and
just goes out and ton guns. I think.
Oh yeah.
I see.
Larry Bird. Holy cow.
Yeah,
I didn't knew about Larry Bird. I mean, gosh, I can remember watching him at IU.
He could have used his full name, Larius Birdicus, but other than that.
Wow, that makes me feel good. How did you even know about him?
My dad used to watch him.
So
he read about him on the clay tablets.
Yeah.
It's one of his favorite players.
Well, that is really interesting that you do that. And it's interesting. I did not know that that's how he practices 3-pointers. And it seems to be working for you. Talk a little bit about that.
So I broke my wrist.
Yeah.
So
talk about that.
I broke my wrist, and fun fact, I could not shoot more than like probably 15 feet in the beginning of the season. So I don't know if you remember, but the first couple games I airballed some of my threes.
Well, it was because of the wrist. You didn't know where it was going. We didn't know, but you didn't know either.
I didn't even know either. So yeah. So it definitely, for me, it was just like and that messes with me like mentally, you know. So that was definitely a big mental thing I had to overcome, you know. And I just kept shooting, and I guess I just started making them.
Yeah, it's the only way to work your way back out of it. Is your shot the same now as it was before you broke your wrist, or is it a different shot?
I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little different now, isn't
Yeah,
it?
just a little bit. I can't bend it all the way back.
I
my
know
wrist.
shooting with the cane versus shooting without the cane, totally different for me.
Oh my! So hey, what about your plans for next year? We were talking a little bit about that with Coach Everingham. What you gonna be doing next year?
So it's actually this year. I'm graduating after this season.
You're an early grad.
Whoa,
Yep.
early grad.
Very
Yep.
good.
So I'll be getting a job working for 4 months, and then I actually applied for a trade school in Georgia
Whoa!
for electrical linemen. So
Oh
For the
my
utility
gosh.
company.
yes, sir.
There
So-
is a huge need for they're all retiring. There's going to be this huge vacuum of linemen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be going down there, and it's like a 4-month course, and you get room, board, everything, and you stay with like 4 to 6 guys, and then 2 hours of the day is classroom, and the rest is just outside learning how to.
You know, I don't know this is the case, but I would bet that if you got a hold of somebody at like NIPSCO, they'd even foot the bill for that thing if you, told them what you were doing and where you lived and all that. Just saying. I mean, if I can find somebody else to pay for my stuff, I'm there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you got that right.
I am Mr. Cheap. It's why Kaz is still here.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, a phone call might be worth a couple bucks.
I'd take it.
All right.
Hey, how did you decide? That's a dangerous job.
It is. It's like one of the top 10 dangerous jobs in the United States.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Wow.
And I've seen, I know of one of our teachers that lost her husband because of that. He fell off of a utility pole and he was killed. So, but talk a little bit about how you decided to go that route. That is huge. I want to hear this.
So actually, my dad is a marketing director for Altec, and they sell the aerial devices.
You got the way in then.
So he sells the aerial devices, which is the trucks, and so he knows basically everyone that is an energy company. So that actually helps me a lot.
Sure.
But I don't know. I just watched a lot of videos on it, and I kind of like seems like it's interesting to me, and it just intrigues me. So
Well, I'm very interested in it, and I'm not even going to go there.
The other thing that's interesting is that you've got four months to decide. Hey, if this is what I want to do, or you may take that. Hey, I don't want to do this, but what makes it neat is you got the ability and the opportunity to do that, especially going to Georgia. Well, it's a little bit. I don't think it's 17 degrees down there right now.
I would imagine it's not. So high voltage stuff?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh yeah, you get shocked.
Yeah,
Probably
and
not
a
the
lot of
best.
that. I mean, the minimum that stuff carries is usually 440.
Oh yeah.
And then you're going up from there. Wow. And you got to be tougher than wine because you got to be able to move those transformers.
Yeah.
And they weigh more than Kaz does.
Yeah, which is a lot.
Well, close.
No,
Okay.
Some of them do.
So everyone has a different leadership skill or a little different leadership style, I guess would be the better way to put it, on the floor. What is your leadership? There are guys that are like cheerleaders out there, up in people's faces and loud and like that. And then there are guys that never say anything. A simple look is all that has to happen. And then, of course, the entire range in between. What's your leadership style? How do you lead these young people?
That's a good question. So I just talk to them. We get everyone huddled in there before the games, or even when they make a foul. And everyone huddles in there, and we just talk to them, make sure everyone's still
Are you more of a
focused in the
group
game.
guy, or are you more of a one-on-one guy?
Group guy.
Group guy.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, that was an easy call for him.
Well, people are usually one or the other.
Yeah. So how do you think the season is going to go from here? We talked to Coach Everingham about that, and we didn't talk to Dukes because I'm not sure he knows anything about that. Talk about the rest of the season and how you think it's going to play out.
I think the rest of the season is going to go really good for us. I think we have everything going great. We have great young guys, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, me and Keat. I think that we know exactly what we want at the end of the season, and I think that we're going to accomplish it.
Is there a particular point in the season so far that you think was a real turning point or a real a point where you saw a great increase in development, or has it been just a steady move toward the top? Is it?
I think it was the Northwood game.
The Northwood game.
I think that we definitely had to prove ourselves, and definitely for the younger guys, because they have never really played in that type of environment.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, Northwood has won sectionals for the past,
since Kaz rode in on the dinosaur, right?
Yep. So basically, they're looking for state this year. They really want it all. So they're gonna come out and give it everything they got. So we have to be prepared mentally and physically, and that just helps if the younger guys are all in. And
so there was a level of intensity there.
Yes, sir.
That you don't see every time. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
And you think that you responded well to that intensity?
100%.
Very good. Excellent. Caden, appreciate you coming in today. Thank you very much for being here. You guys, you and Keaton and all the guys, good luck the rest of the way. You guys are doing great. We really appreciate the work you put in, and thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
When we come back, Coach John Everingham is going to tell us a little bit about our next opponent, the Plymouth Pilgrims, here on Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back here on Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com, as once again being joined by the head basketball coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, a couple of very impressive young men, Caden Welty and Keaton Dukes, came in. We had an opportunity to talk to them. What a couple of great guys to have in your varsity squad.
Yeah, they're essential for the success that we're having this year and that we've had over the last 4 years. And so each of them have a little different story, their basketball story, their education story, all that stuff. But I just couldn't be more proud of them, of the young men that they are, and the leaders that they are, on our basketball team. And Keaton's been, playing varsity since about the middle of his freshman year, and certainly has meant a lot to me personally and to our basketball program. And so both those guys just put everything they have into, the game of basketball. And again, we talked about earlier segments about, the grades and all the things that you need to all the tools that you need to have to be a Wawasee basketball player, and those guys certainly have all of them, and I think one of the most impressive things they've done this year, certainly, having a veteran squad, last year full of juniors and seniors, and then moving some new, younger, inexperienced guys into the mix this year, that they've done a good job with their leadership, as well, and taking those guys under their wings and really being extremely positive and patient, with their development.
And their teamwork. They're very unselfish. Somebody makes a mistake, nobody gets down on them. I've never seen a bad look at one player to another one. Never.
I know.
And, we're more than halfway through the season, and yet they're able to work with each other really, really well and complement each other when they do well. Just the teamwork and unselfishness is really great with this group of kids.
Yeah, and their positivity is contagious. It really is, because if our leaders, the other way, negativity and having a poor attitude is also contagious. And so, when your top two guys, if they would have come into this season thinking, I got to score this many points, or I'm only worried about my stats and all the things that maybe, some players think about, around, if they would have had that particular attitude, or if they would have said, these inexperienced guys or these young guys got to prove themselves before they get in here, or whatever, those negative thoughts, if they would have had those, it would have been contagious throughout the entire program. And so, we certainly spent a lot of time, I spent a lot of time meeting with those guys, trying to set them up, for the season, saying, hey, this is going to take just a little bit of time to get these guys where we need them to be to start winning basketball games, and you've seen that. But their positive attitude has been incredibly important, in the development of our team, and they deserve a lot of credit. And you can't see it on the floor. You don't see it in practice either. Walking the hallways, I know just from what some of our younger kids say, that they have really kind of gotten their back, in all areas, all facets of high school. And so that's something we appreciate greatly.
You know, one of the things I talked to Dukes' dad between games during halftime recently, and I said, "Well, where was he going to go next year?" And this is sort of like they don't know yet.
Yeah.
And Keaton hasn't decided. Same thing with, I don't know about Welty because I didn't talk to his dad, but I think that is really got to be interesting. And I know that you have people coming around to scout these kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Keaton, like I said, coming into the season, if his mindset would have been, I got to get the best college scholarship offer that I have to get. I'm going to have to score points. I'm going to have to do this. Instead, he's taken that team approach and really focused on our team and kind of put his own personal, goals and dreams aside for the team. And I think that, again, speaks volumes about his character and who he is. And Caden Welty is a kid in building trades right now, and he'll end up someday making a very good employee or business owner.
Oh, yeah.
In the construction business. And so, look, I'd hire that dude a million times over on my construction crew, and just in terms of his positive work ethic and just his overall attitude, towards working. He's just a worker. And so, he may go to some post-secondary, 2-year school or trade school. But I like I said, he's going to make a really good employee.
That's one of the nice things about Wawasee. All of these opportunities. I mean, it's just not taking, Latin and algebra and get your, diploma for 4 years. They've got all these other different options. And I think that's just super for these kids to be able to have those options. And then they can go out and go right to work, or they can go out and go to college, or they can, it just makes a huge variety of opportunities.
Yeah, it certainly does. And we're talking about 300 plus students, really that are involved in our half-day, CTE programs.
Oh,
And then another probably 500 to 1,000, in terms of our co-op, with our 3-school co-op, there are a lot of students involved in ag and business and facts and all the stuff that we have to offer. So Welty's going to be a beneficiary of that training, over the last couple of years, wherever he ends up. And actually, he had a job with Classic Builders.
Yeah.
And it was about a week before he started there, was getting a nice pay rate. And I know, talking to the owner of that business, that they were really hoping that they could get him in the internship program and building trades and kind of move him to a team leader as soon as possible on a construction crew after he graduated. Well, a week after he started, he broke his wrist. He couldn't swing a hammer, and so unfortunately he had to put that job on pause. And so, but there's somebody out there that'll pick him up, and he's, like I said, he'll be a very good employee.
Yeah, and that's so neat to be able to go right from school to a good job and your career. I think it's really, really hard, though, for the kids to make that decision when they're that young.
Yeah.
You look back on it and you think, well, gee, if I would have taken this course, or if I would have gone into radio and television, or if I would have, the opportunity, it's crazy now.
Yeah.
The number of places that these guys can go and girls can go.
Yep. Yep.
So we're leaving the non-conference part of our schedule. We've seen a couple of conference schools, but for the most part, it's been non-conference. Now we go into the conference and into sectional.
Yeah.
And your team has to adopt a somewhat more fixed goal perspective, right? I mean, it's not that we're just getting better as we go. Now then, we got dates on the calendar.
Yeah.
Talk about how your team approach and how your team development into that is coming.
Yeah. Listen, we played, Warsaw. I mean, we know they're good.
Yeah.
And I think they're undefeated in the conference right now. They got 8 or 9 wins.
The junior college of Northern Indiana.
Yeah, they're a very good basketball team. But we competed with them well, and certainly I think we were. We cut it to single digits, maybe 8, in the fourth quarter. We turn around, we go to Columbia City, who's, again, the same thing, 8-1. Very good basketball team, veteran, junior, senior laden, basketball team. And we certainly have a chance to beat them, in the last possession of the game. Central Noble, the number 1 rated team still. I think they're 14-0 right now. We're tied with them going in the fourth quarter. Woodland has won 5 straight games, right now, and took them to overtime. And then Northwood, the way we competed at Northwood, I think that little stretch right there, even though we dropped those games, is certainly going to benefit us after we get healthy, that it's going to benefit us over the next 5 to 10 games and into sectional. And so, I've always said too, with our inexperienced guys and our young guys, those comments should stop, because they have enough experience right now, and they're no longer freshmen. They're no longer inexperienced. They're basketball players on the floor. And you can kind of see that, those guys are, from Jay Finlinson, Peyton Felger making a big shot at Northwood. And then the Twins, playing at a pretty high level right now. That's the amount of time generally that you need, kind of that 10 game period, 10, 11, 12 games. And we played massive competition. I think, looking at the rankings, not that they mean anything, but I think Northwood come Monday is going to be ranked number 1 in Class 3A because the number 1 and number 2 team lost. And so we're playing against some of the best teams in the state of Indiana and competing at a very high level. And we haven't quite pulled one off yet, but I feel like we're going to. If we had to play Mishawaka on Friday, they had won 7 games in a row coming into, Friday's game. So all of that stuff is just preparing us for the second half of our season and into sectional. And so I think anybody that saw us play against Northwood would say, that team's in a really good spot. We've kind of paid our dues, with inexperience and youth, that we got those guys the experiences that they need to be very successful in the second half of the season. And so sometimes it's hard because you want to win right now, and you want to kind of bypass the process of competing at a high level. But it's part of the process that you have to go through in order to start winning. And so I think this team is ready to start winning. I think we could pop off, 5, 6 in a row, or maybe 7 of 8 games. I think we're playing at that level. Certainly Keaton's injury is a bit of a concern, and we want to get him healthy first, and then get him back in the mix. But I think if everybody's healthy and everybody's where they need to be, I think we could be a winning basketball team and string some together as well.
So Friday night, we're on the road. We traveled to Marshall County to take on the Pilgrims of Plymouth. That's always a tough place to play.
Yeah, never easy. And I think you could see that last night. Concord goes to Plymouth, and Concord's got some nice wins under their belt, and they beat a really good ranked, St. Joe team, and certainly we'll worry about Concord down the road. But Concord was in a bad spot last night. I think they were down 39-38 with about 1:20 to go, and I think their last 6 points of the game last night were free throws. So Concord had their hands full with Plymouth. And so Plymouth lost a couple of their better players or best players, to transfer. And they have a freshman playing, number 34. And they're just going to be tough to beat when anytime you go over to Plymouth, it's just hard to win over there. And teams are finding that out. But what Plymouth is going through is much like what we went through or are going through, is that they've been really close in a lot of games. They beat Michigan City, and they've been close to a lot of other good teams, but they just can't quite win right now. So I think it's going to be a really good matchup of 2 teams that are looking to get over the hump. Somebody's going to win that game and kind of maybe spur, a little bit of a winning streak. And so certainly we're hoping that that's us.
One of the things that's been impressing me, I always try to interview the head coach before the games, and they're always talking about Keaton, and they're talking about Welty, and just now you were talking about, you've been on whatever device you've got to spot these other teams. Like Plymouth?
Absolutely, yeah.
How much time you spend doing? Talk a little bit about
probably
that.
Too much time. Coach O'Connell last night. Coach O'Connell, just to give you a little snapshot, he came over last night, and we got something to eat, and then we started probably at 7 o'clock last night on a Friday night. Yeah, sounds real fun, but it was fun to us, and it is fun to us. But we watched the first half of the Plymouth Concord game. We switched over and watched Warsaw and Goshen. We've still got to play Goshen. That was a really good game. Came down to the last shot. And then we went back to the Plymouth game and watched the second half of that, game. And so we were at it probably till 10 or 10:30. So 3.5 hours of scouting. And again, back in not even that long ago, 10 years ago, you couldn't do that.
No.
You know, so
You would send somebody there.
Yeah.
You'd
Legally.
have to have two groups to send.
And
Yep.
you know, you would sit there and you'd take notes on the opposing team and whatever. Tell me again about that. How do you do that? Where do you find these films at? How do you?
Well, the one thing about COVID is that most people started streaming games. You know, we had always been on YouTube and we always streamed our game, but almost everybody streams their games now. So you got to do a little searching in YouTube and some of the other places, and most
So it's
everybody
there.
streams games. Yeah, some
All you
online.
gotta do is find
Do
it.
you remember? Do you remember the year we got thrown out of a Northern Lakes Conference gym for even bringing up the fact we were going to stream a game, Coach? We won't go into that.
I don't remember
the
that.
attitude toward technology has changed a
Oh
little
my!
Considerably,
over
yeah.
the
Technology's changed.
years. Well, Coach, good luck with Plymouth.
Thank you.
Friday night, we're at Plymouth. Should be a big one. And then next weekend, Coach Szynal, I know you've got a big event coming up next Saturday.
Yes.
With the Knights of Columbus.
Yeah, the Knights of Columbus. We have a free throw contest for boys and girls ages 9 through 14. And then there's the hot shot contest that's run by the Kiwanis, and they're for boys and girls grades 1 through 6.
And now that's shooting the 3-pointers, right?
Well, and they put little marks out
Right.
on the.
Oh, you
on
just
the
go to the
stage.
mark and shoot
And you go to
5
the
of
mark
them.
and shoot, and somebody
Yeah,
keeps
yeah.
track of your points.
Okay, I've seen that.
So, and that's this next Saturday, January 22nd. We'll start registration at 2, and the competition will start at 2:30 at the Wawasee Middle School. And I've got to pass out flyers to all of the 4 schools that would be involved. They'll have a little thing that they can take home and make sure that they can come. And it's a really neat thing, a really neat activity. And it's after all the games that the youth center has on. So anybody that wants to participate, you're more than welcome.
And it's not like anybody who ever went on to do anything in basketball has won it, because Shauna Zolman won it like 14 of the 13 years she was in it.
Yeah.
She just tore it up. So, you'd be following Shauna Zolman and you could do worse than that. So this is Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com, WRWTLP, Syracuse.